Wow. Okay. Lawlers, what's going on? Today we are doing another champion guide for beginners. This time we'll be covering off Rumble. Rumble's hard, I'm not going to lie. He's a very hard champion to play and play well. So take this champion on and add him to your roster if you feel like you want to put a lot of time and learn a bunch of different mechanics and how to play the laning phase a little bit more in depth in the trading aspect of the laning phase. So knowing that and knowing that he's basically a fighter champ, he wants to get in champs' faces and kind of hang out in battle, you're really going to want to choose moments to fight with him well. So we're going to cover off his abilities, we'll talk about some basic trading, and then hopefully that gives you an understanding of when your windows are to be able to go in and win favorable trades and kind of try and snowball from there. So the first thing we need to know about Rumble is his passive, Junkyard Titan. Basically, there's no mana bar for Rumble. Underneath his health bar, there's going to be basically a heat bar that fills up. Every time you use an ability with him, it's going to add a little bit of heat. The hardest part of playing Rumble well is managing this heat bar. So you'll see here, we'll talk about his Q in a second, but when I cast it, the little white bar starts to fill up. Okay, as it gets to about 50%, that bar is going to turn gold. When the bar is gold, all of your basic abilities are going to do a little bit extra. They're going to be beefed up. They're going to be amped up. So you want to try and get Rumble to stay within the gold bar area. When it's white, it doesn't do anything. When it's kind of gold, it starts to add a little bit of extra power-ups to his abilities. When it gets all the way to full, it's going to turn red. Basically, Rumble overheats. This big mech warrior that he's in overheats, and you can't cast any abilities. So that's kind of, you don't want to really get to that far of a point where it turns red. So our Q here, Flame Spitter, it basically torches everything in front of him for a little bit. And again, that adds to his heat bar. So you'll see here, we can use it to kill minions. We can use it to maybe try and poke the enemy champion at a little bit of range, and it adds to our heat. Okay, the second ability you want to learn with Rumble is going to be his Electro Harpoon. This is basically, it holds up to 2 casts and it refills, you know, as you cast them. So you can see it's starting to refill up a second one, so you can hold 2 harpoons. And it's just a poking ability. You can use it to last hit minions at a safe range if you wanted to. You could use it to try and poke the enemy champion if you can get it off like that. It slows them a little bit, and it also deals a little bit of damage. Okay, so to kind of recap the 2 that we learned, you have your Q, which deals damage in front of you like this. You can use the last hit minions to maybe poke the champion, and then you have your E, which you can use to hit them and slow them. Okay, the third ability we're going to learn here is Scrap Shield. As the name says, it's basically a shield. The other thing it does for Rumble is it speeds him up a little bit, so you can see his feet lift up off the air. They're kind of funny, and he kind of flies forward or backwards depending on which way you're moving. So now that we know these 3 abilities, your basic trading pattern with Rumble will be, especially if you're laning against a melee champion, you'll open up with your Q and just try and flame spit them. If they run, you'll use your E's to follow and poke, and maybe your W if you want to catch up even faster and have a shield. Okay, so that's one trading pattern. Again, we know that Rumble's a very advanced champion, very mechanically intensive champion, so there's a lot of different ways you can engage. Another way here is we can start with our W to kind of close the gap and get a shield, and then start with our Q now. Okay, and if they run away, you can kind of chase them down with your E. Okay, it's a skill shot again, see, so you can miss them very easily there if you're not used to playing Rumble. Okay, so that's another way you can trade into melee champions. Most melee champ matchups for Rumble are favorable. So if you're playing against a champion who's melee range, it's very easy to win trades and poke, because you can just press your Q, you can W away if you want to run away, you can do kind of short poke trades like that. So you can Q them, and then maybe like this, follow with an E, and then just run away if you wanted to. Alright, so you have a lot of options in melee matchups. Range matchups are a little bit more difficult for Rumble, and that's when you'll have to focus on using your E to last hit, or maybe hit the champion and then use your W to kind of close the gap and speed up and get next to them. Okay? So we've been talking a lot about trading combos. Let's talk about now which ability you want to max with Rumble. I've been choosing to max my Q. I do that because I want to be able to push and kill minions fast if the enemy champ leaves lane like this, so I can push them into the turret. And also, it's kind of your bread and butter damage ability, alright? Especially when we get into later team fighting with other champions and maybe 2v2s or 3v3s. It's a good area of effect damage ability, so you want to make sure you max this one first. It's also the easiest to land because the harpoon is a skill shot, so it's tough to land. So the harpoon slows them as well. So you can see here, I can kite away from them by using the harpoon. I could also W away if I needed to. So Rumble is very good at either kiting back away from champions if he needs to, or kiting and kind of catching up to them. But remember, because he's a fighter, if you go in, really you're looking to stay in and fight for a long extended trade, okay? So let's try a basic trade here. We're going to W in, and then we're going to use our flame spitter to kind of just face wrecker, face melter, and then we're going to see if we can catch up to her using our E if we need to. So we're going to W in, Q, okay, boom, she's not leaving. Now we're going to start trying to hit her with some E's to kind of catch up to her. Miss one, right? So you can see we're in that golden area now. So our abilities are going to deal even more damage. We're going to catch up with another W. And now we could have cast E there, but because the bar is red, we actually can't cast any abilities. So that's a little bit of that management, that heat management that you have to watch out for with Rumble. The more you play him, the better you'll get at managing it and trying keeping it in the gold area. But it's tough. Okay, you're going to try and whack your keyboard and hit a bunch of abilities, and you're going to overheat sometimes. And when you overheat, that's the most vulnerable spot that Rumble's in, because you can't cast any abilities. You can't cast your harpoons to slow down the champions and either get away or catch up to them. You can't cast your shield to be able to sprint away or sprint towards them. And you can't cast your Q, your flame spitter, to deal a bunch of damage either. So it's very dangerous when you overheat with Rumble. You want to make sure if you're kind of at risk of overheating, you are far enough away that you can just walk away. Alright, so let's all in her now. We're going to W to try and catch up. While we're catching up, we're going to use our E. We're going to cast our ult on her here, which basically puts down this big line and damages anybody and slows them while they're in it. And we missed the all-in. So we're going to try and E again. You're just going to be spamming your abilities. We overheat, but I think this was a favorable one, and we got it. Okay? So trading, laning with Rumble, it's all about understanding where there's favorable spots and spamming your abilities to the point where you're in that gold bar of heat, but you're not overheating. Alright? He has no mana, his cooldowns are relatively short, and 2 out of the 3 of his basic spells kind of slow down or speed him or the enemy champion up. So it's kind of like a big chess match in the lane with Rumble. So if you get good with him, you'll notice that you'll be able to snowball lanes really hard and really bully your opponents. But if you're not mastering these techniques, you're probably going to get bullied pretty hard. Let's talk about items here. Generally, I like to build into Liandry's Torment first with him. It works well and matches up well with his kit. It gives him some health, it gives him some ability power, which is great. He's an ability power champion, and he's also a fighter, so he's going to stay in there and take some hits. So health and ability power is great. The other unique passives of Liandry's Torment give him more damage for each second he's in combat, which is great, and it also burns enemies, which is another good trait. So we're going to build into this as a first item generally. Okay. The boots that you want to build into with Rumble are going to be Sorcerer's Shoes, probably 90% of the time, and then just kind of follow the standard and essential items, and that should treat you well as you're learning Rumble. So a cool trick with your W is you can use it to get back to the turret faster in lane if you didn't want to use your teleport, so you can use W to kind of fly in. You can see it's on a pretty short cooldown, 6 seconds. And now we'll try and all-in again. So let's talk about the R, the ultimate ability here, a little bit more detail on this all-in. So basically, he launches this huge line of rockets on the ground, and it burns the trail in the ground for 5 seconds. Any enemies caught in that trail have their movement speed slowed, and they take damage per second. So essentially, and again, Rumble's a tough champ. This is a tough ability to land. It shoots in a line, so you could completely miss and your ultimate's going to be useless. But you want to try and either use it as an engage, where you're going to get them stuck and then you're going to jump in on them with your other abilities, or at the last second if they're trying to run away to basically secure the kill. So because she's closer to my turret here, I'm going to use it to try and maybe trap her. So we're going to cast it in a line behind her, like that. And then we're going to try and just use our E's and our Q's to catch up to her, and our W's as well to catch up. So you see I'm saving my Q here. We're just going to use this on her, use the E, and got it. So we kind of ran her down there. That's the whole thing with Rumble. You're probably going to run down a lot of champions. Alright, but you got to make sure if you're going to get that far into it, you know you can get the kill. He's kind of an all-in champ in that way. If you go ham and you're chasing somebody down and you're going for it, and they turn and they have more damage, you're basically done, especially if you overheat. You have no ability to cast any spells. So just be careful in that way. Make sure you're stronger and you can out-trade. If you can basically just face roll the champion. Alright, so again, we're going to use our Q here to clear out the wave as fast as we can. We can use our E to get last hits on the champs as well, or the minions as well. And that's basically what you want to do with Rumble. If you can freeze the lane around here, or kind of keep the wave around here, you can chase down champions. He's really good at chasing down champs because he has slows and speed ups in his kit. And then you want to try and all-in them with your ultimate. If you kill them, then you want to use your Q to try to force the wave. So you can see here, I don't want to overheat. I want to run away with my W because we're losing this trade, and use my E's to kite back. Okay, if we can get her to around 25% health like us, we might be able to all-in her. So until that happens, I'm just poking her with my E. So E is a great poke tool. You can just keep casting it non-stop. You can see it doesn't deal the greatest amount of damage, but you can just use it to poke. So I could use my Q to clear this wave here. I don't want to because I want to be able to run her down, right? That's an important part of playing Rumble, the ability to run somebody down. So we're going to try and use that here. We're going to try and run her down now. Use the R in a line. Did it finish her? Yes, it did, right? So there is an example of how we can use the ultimate to basically secure the last part of that kill. So now we use our Q that she's dead to clear out this minion wave, and we're golden. We'll do that again with our Q. Again, that's why we max the Q first, so we can really bully champions and clear minion waves at the same time if we need to. We're going to use our E's to help us clear this wave even faster. You can see our Q is already off cooldown, so we're going to use that as well. And now we're going to go back to base and buy. While we're going back to base, let's talk about which one of these two abilities you want to max second with Rumble. Okay, obviously outside of the ultimate, when you'll max that whenever you have the chance. But basically, the shield or the harpoon. If you're playing Rumble aggressively, and especially if you're in melee matchups or even range matchups and you want to try and poke the enemy champions, you want to max your E second because it's a damaging ability, right? And it has some utility because it slows them as well, so you don't want to max that second. If, though, we were losing lane and we're getting poked more, let's say we're against an enemy poke champion like a mage in the mid lane that has an ability to damage us from pretty far away, like a Xerath, for example, maybe you, in that matchup, you'd want to max your W, your scrap shield second, so that you have a bigger shield that kind of comes off of cooldown a little bit faster and also gives you more movement speed so you can dodge things, right? So it depends on the matchup. Generally max Q first and then choose between the other two items after that. So we just have almost enough gold for a Leandry's Torment. We'll buy this, and then we'll jump back into mid lane here. And I'll see if I can show you guys a good way to also roam and gank with Rumble as a finishing point to this video. So we'll use our W to get back to lane a little bit faster like we talked about. Now instead of trying to kill this this champion in lane here, we'll just use our Q and our E and our W to protect ourselves and maybe poke her out while we push, and then we're going to go to the bot lane. We're going to roam to the bot lane, and we're going to see if we can use our ultimate to kill. Okay, so again, because we maxed our Q, our wave clear is a little bit stronger, so that means we can get these minions cleared out a little bit faster. You can see I'm using my W too. It's on a 6-second cooldown, so I'm using my W as well just to shield myself while this is going on. Use our Q to deal damage to the minions, but also to her. Use our W to catch up here. Okay, so we forced her out of lane, and you can see we've also have the minion wave push now. So one thing you can do with Rumble when you do that is you can roam to another lane. So bot lane just died, so we're actually going to go top here. And if you have your ultimate up, you basically want to cast the ultimate in a line behind the enemy champion so they can't escape. So I'm going to try and cast it behind them so they can't escape, and then I'm going to try and gank them. So I'm using my W to get to the lane faster here as well, like we talked about. Then we're going to cast our R behind so they can't really escape, and we're going to start with our Q, E to slow. We're going to keep Qing and basically gank like that. Okay, so that's another great ability that Rumble has, is he's got pretty good ganks, especially if you're playing him in the mid lane. You can gank top or bottom with his ultimate, and W to get to the lanes faster, right? It's not the fastest roamer in the world compared to some of the other mid lane assassins, but he still has that ability and versatility to go to the top or bottom and use his ultimate to kind of really gank well. So here we're going to see if we can again start with the Q. We're going to open up with the Q on her. Right, we're happy to take these trades. We have W, so we're going to use W. Now we're going to use our E to slowly kite away, right, and W to kite away here, right? So you can see there, we were starting to lose that trade, but if we manage our abilities well, and we don't overheat, we can actually kite away quite fine. Alright, so we're going to try and get one more kill on this Shyvana in the mid lane here, and then we're going to end the video, and then you guys will have a chance to kind of pick up Rumble and try it. So we're going to try and land an E, W to shield, and then start Qing to keep this trade going. We have one more E to catch up to her. We're going to flash and finish her with one more auto-attacking Q. Okay, so again, every time we've killed the Shyvana, she kind of gets a little bit too close, she gets a little too far, and we run her down with Rumble. And that's how you're going to try and play it. You're going to make sure you have enough stats, a stat check champion, right? You have a fighter is usually our stat check champ, so if you have better stats than the enemy, you can just jump in and fight. That's what you want to do with Rumble. Make sure you choose good moments early on to get your lead, your items, your level lead, whatever it is, and then try and run down champs and fight them when you have your heat bar to a good level to manage to get extra ability damage and shields. So if you have questions about Rumble and you're playing him because he's so complex, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll see if I can help you guys out with some knowledge on how to play him or how to trade effectively in different types of champs. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, consider subscribing if you want to see other champ guides, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.